Hello there, everybody. Hello, hello. Happy Friday. Good to see everybody. My name is Ashley Hunt. Thanks for joining me today. I appreciate it. So good to see everybody. Hey, bad jokes are good too. I like bad jokes and good jokes and all that. And thank you all for chatting in. You doing your Friday dance, ChatGPT? Good. I hope you're ready to work because that's what we're going to talk about today. So good to see everybody. Hey, do me a favor and just chat in real quick. What is your job role? Are you IT? Are you a software developer? Are you a predictive project manager? Are you in education, military, government? Where are you? App development, IT advisor, TPM, PSM, excellent. IT, help desk. Who's coming in quick? There's a lot of you. Hello, Electron Wrangler. I haven't heard that one before. Project manager, cybersecurity, IT. Lots. Construction project manager. Hi. Hello from Tampa, IT, PMP. Yep. Okay, so IT application analyst transitioning to project manager. Congratulations. You're an IT servant. Aren't we all, though? Government IT supervisor. Hi, Dwight. Yep. New to IT PM. I'm taking over for a real PM. No, you're a real PM. Come on, IT manager, county public health. Hoping to take the PMP by the end of the year? Awesome, Michelle. Hoping to see you in my class before the end of the year. You got this. IT manager, technology PM. Awesome. Chief technology officer in education. Nice. All right, hoping to take your CAPM soon. Just by the way, since you mentioned that, the exam changes July 25th. So if you're planning to take it after July 25th, you're fine. Anything IT, yeah, if it has wires or uses electricity, it's me. Yeah, I typically joke with my classes that I have a technology problem. I like it too much, which is why a lot of what we're going to be talking about today is cool. You're taking it before, Shannon? Okay, perfect. Yeah, just as long as you get it before that little switcheroo. The switcheroo. All right, there you go. Well, thank you guys so much for joining me. How many of you are more agile-esque or hybrid or more predictive project manager? No, well, the CAPM course is going to change. Yes, it is. Hybrid, yes, agile, hybrid. Company is looking at agile. I gotcha. Yeah, lots of hybrids. And and you can agree or disagree with me, but we talk about this in my agile classes and my PMP and CAPM's also going partially agile as well, is that a lot of times, because you've got some predictive waterfall moving slowly to hybrid. So agree or disagree. A lot of times with agile, organizations can't necessarily just make the leap, right? Because stakeholders don't get it or they think it's easy to do. And it is definitely a bit of culture shock for sure between predictive and agile. And so if you're moving slowly, post-it notes and angry emails, yes. I have a post-it note problem too, but not an angry email problem. I'm sorry about that. But when we start talking about implementation of agile in organizations, there's a reason why a lot of these software programs like Monday.com are now adding Gantt charts, because Monday.com is more of a task board program like Planner, which we're going to talk about today. I'll do a demo. It's not all slides. I'm going to show you some things. Obviously, we only have an hour max, so we can't get in depth for sure. But at the same time, how can we use artificial intelligence like ChatGPT to help take some of the brunt off of whatever? It could be predictive, hybrid, or agile, but so many organizations are going hybrid because from top down, the implementation is so difficult. Those of you that are hybrid, was it bottom up? Like you all said, you know what? We're going to start doing daily stand-up meetings. You know what? We're in this industry, so we need speed. We need to move quickly. We need to have, that self-directed, self-managed team. We need to process things in task boards instead of Gantt charts, but my stakeholders want Gantt charts. I mean, how many of you are experiencing that? There's so many people that I talk to, like from around the world, that are just, like we can't go full agile. Your job is pushing the management to improve. Yeah, and that's a good thing because that bottom up, endeavor. Some of the tools that we can use, It just depends. But I do think with Microsoft Planner, you have that integration with 360, or 365, I'm sorry. I'm doing a 365 with that integration. So we started with Planner. Now the other departments are seeing the value. That's awesome. Yeah. How many of you are using Planner? If you are, probably I'm not going to show you anything you don't already know, but it's more about how we can use AI or ChatGPT. I know, I love Planner. It's so easy to use. Yeah, I kind of figured. So, I mean, the bulk of this really is going to be about ChatGPT. You just started using it? Yeah, you are. Planner's too light? Okay, so if you're more on the predictive side, it's not going to be the best software program because it doesn't show dependencies, that kind of thing. You might not have set it up correctly though. No, I'm sure you did. And that's the nice thing about Planner is it's super easy to use. So I'm going to show you ChatGPT. All right, let me ask you this then. How many of you are already using ChatGPT at work? Anybody using it at work? Or if you're government? Yeah, no, Planner doesn't have dependencies, so you can't use it, yeah. Use it daily, using it, but need a bit more dependencies reporting. Lots. Yep, already using it. Not using it, mostly for coding. No, Planner's a free app that you can download for as long as you have 365. Is it cheating to use it? I don't think so. No, I think it's making us more productive all the time for all kinds of stuff. PowerShell scripting, not using it. Some of our admins use for coding. Yeah, coding. Wrote your colleague reviews with it. See? There you go. That's not cheating. Yes, at work and personal, absolutely great app. Work smarter, not harder. Agreed. Save me hours at work. I mean, that's what this is all about. And, if you have any tips or tricks, you want to throw them out there, we're here to learn. I'm not going to pretend I'm the smartest person in the room, but some of the things that I use it for, some of the things that my students are using it for, that kind of thing we can talk about today. Yes, to ChatGPT behind the times in Office, still local install. Okay, so no 365. Yeah. This session is recorded, so you will have access to it. Yep. You jump on it. ChatGPT, write me an email. I'm not happy about writing. Look, we're going to talk about writing user stories, epics, that kind of thing today. If you wanted to delve into a little bit of predictive, we certainly could. I mean, obviously, it's about how to revolutionize our workflow. And, there's some organizations that just don't want anybody to use it. Maybe fear the danger of it, that it's a database that's storing all of our information everywhere. That's machine learning, AI language model. ChatGPT can assist with a variety of tasks. All right, so how many of you are using plugins? Are you using ChatGPT 4? I'm going to kind of show you both, just the differences, between the responses between the free version and 4. I did just read an article that's saying, that they're hesitant on 5. There's some pushback on doing that. But if you're not using ChatGPT 4, I know, frowny face. I'll show you what that looks like. But as of just now, I just checked, there are 580 plugins. Okay, 580 plugins that we're going to talk about. So, or not, I'm going to talk about all 580, that's for sure. But whoops, I hit the button too fast. On the waterfall side, predictive waterfall types of projects, are absolutely going to be one of those things where heavy documentation is going to be occurring. And, too many people are afraid of the rise. I know, I hear you. But with that being said, it's like documentation. We can be generic. I did another webinar, and they're all stored out there too if you want to go back and watch it. It was more on the predictive side. And when we talk about, the predictive side, that how many of you have to do just a ton of documentation? Like risk registers, project charters, management plans, statements of work. Yeah, exactly. Hey, Skynet, yes. Tons, right? So there's less documentation in the agile side you should be doing, but you're not. So, 50-50. Oh, yeah, technical docs. As an AI, I promise you, I'm not trying to take over the world. I don't think so. I don't believe it, unfortunately. Yeah, so even if you're on the predictive side, you can use ChatGPT to build out a risk register. You can use it to create a scope statement, to do risk assessment. Those kinds of things, Thank you, Colin. That's the link for all the webinars, and there's a ton out there that might be more specific that Dan Young, another instructor, has done that is way more on the technical side than I am. And so ultimately, if you want to check those out, they're awesome. Yeah, you need to do more documentation. And so with predictive, you can use that to build out, and you don't have to get specific. I know some of you might be in industries that you can't put personal information, don't want to, and you don't have to. It can be generic. So I'll show you a couple things that I pulled up from the last one and go from there. But when we talk about agile, I don't know what's stuck here. Something's stuck here. When we talk about agile, though, it's like, how can we create user stories? So how many of you are using user stories, epics, that kind of thing on your agile projects? Because if you are, you know that if you're playing the role of a product owner or an agile project manager, something like that, that it takes a lot of time to prioritize user stories. It takes a lot of time to use epics, to create epics, but not so much user stories. So if you have an epic, you can use ChatGPT to break it down into actual user stories, as well as, not only that, but as well as break it down into the tests that can be done. And it can also size the stories. So let me get out of here, because for some reason, of course, everything's going to lock up. So my technology is fighting back. But either way, does ChatGPT have accuracy in IT troubleshooting in the 365 Exchange? So here's the deal with that. Like, ChatGPT goes back to 2021, right? So that's essentially 2021 is its last sort of update as far as machine learning. But yeah, you can absolutely double check it. Now, what I would say are there are a couple concerns with ChatGPT, and right now they're working on updating it. But let me just open this for you so I can show you. Occasionally, ChatGPT has what are called hallucinations. Sometimes the information isn't as great as we would like it to be. But does that change that 2021 date with GPT 4 or 5? No, 4 still goes back to 2021, but I believe 5 is going to be updated. Yeah. When I ask about M365, it struggles. That's because it's only up to date as of right now to 2021. So you use Jira for most of your agile development. Sort of with 4, it can do lookups and browsing, but it's not trained with it. Yeah. No, under the hallucination. Version 4 is only as far as like technology is concerned. It can write code. You're welcome. It can do all of those things. But 2021, like, even if you ask it, hey, what about Midjourney? You guys know what Midjourney is? Hey, what about that? And it's like, as an AI language model, I only have information up to 2021. I don't know what Midjourney is. So you definitely have to kind of pick and choose how you're going to use your information. Yes, it is AI picks. How you're going to use the information and what it is that you're going to be doing. Now, they haven't, as far as I know, as far as my last check about an hour ago, I couldn't find anything on a release date. They're working on it, but because, people are a little nervous about it, they haven't really set a date. As far as I know, if anybody has a date, let me know. All right, so I can't talk and type at the same time, but before we get into this, I just want to show you, right now we have GPT 3.5 on the left up here, and then GPT 4 with plugins. Yeah, James, I want to show you, there are some new plugins supposed to help with Midjourney prompts. These plugins that we're talking about come with the GPT-4 and will come with GPT-5. As of right now, there's about 580 plugins. Now, what plugins are, if you're not familiar, it's kind of like apps on your cell phone. So if you buy a cell phone and then you download an app, you can use that app for very specific things. The prompts only come with the 4 versions. So you do have to pay, but there are a couple. I'll show you how to add the plugins for better prompting, like Perfect Prompt. I like that one too, and so on. So it's just exploding. I mean, there are going to be so many things going on. But as far as epics, user stories, how many of you are familiar with that concept of user stories? I saw some epics come in, but the chats were coming in pretty quick. How many of you are familiar with what a user story is? Because I don't want to throw out terms people are not familiar with. If you're more in the predictive side of things, then the odds are that you're using. Yeah, not at all. So I just want to make sure you're familiar, but you don't use them here. Yeah, familiar with user stories. So when we talk about the differences between predictive project management, agile project management, predictive project management, you collect requirements. It's very much front loaded. Yep, you got it. I'm going there right now, I promise. Predictive project management, you collect the requirements, you create the baselines, you get them approved, you work the plan, right? So scope of work is fixed. That's why they call it predictive project. You can predict what the end result is going to be. Well, in the late 90s, like 1995 ish, this is when software development was kind of born. Not that it wasn't going on, but before that, but we were still kind of in that industrial age environment, right? So now we have these organizations who need to automate their systems, and software developers were finding predictive project management wasn't working. They were like, we need to be able to collaborate. We need to be able to change. We need to be able to pivot. If this doesn't work, we just spent days doing documentation that is an epic waste of time. So in 2001, 17 software developers got together in Snowbird, Utah, and formed what we now know as the Agile Alliance. And they created the Agile Manifesto, which was basically saying, look, predictive doesn't work for software development. We need to adapt. We need to be able to adjust. And so just at a very high level, Agile is like the flipping the script on predictive. It's saying we need to adapt to change. We need to run things in 2-week sprint or iterations. So my Agile people, how long are your iterations? How long are your sprints? Usually they're 2 weeks, sometimes they're 3 weeks or 4 weeks. But the thought process is that every 2 weeks, we're going to release something that's valuable. 3 week, 2 week, 2 week. So if you're developing a very basic software program, right? Let's say it's type, spell check, print. It's just a simple explanation. Type, spell check, print. We're building a very basic word processing software program, and we need type, spell check, and print. Well, every 2 weeks or monthly, whatever the case may be, something of value gets released. Something gets demoed and tested, and feedback is collected. And the role of the product owner is kind of like a project manager. The product owner collects all the requirements and puts them in what's called a backlog. The backlog is prioritized by what is the most valuable thing to do next. So just a very simple thing. If we're building a type, spell check, print, word processing software, what's the highest priority feature that needs to be built first? Type, spell check, print. Don't get all technical and people are not software developers. Type, there you go. Type, yes, right. So the product owner is going to say, all right, well, type is more important, okay? Type is the priority. So the product owner will write what's called a user story. And I'll write you some here. Well, ChatGPT will write some for you here. But basically, a user story is a different way of expressing a feature. It's broken down into 3 parts. As a end user, typist, prolific writer, whatever it is, I need or want the ability to type so that I can generate words on a page. So I'll show you some user stories here in just a moment, and I'll actually pop this in here just so you can see, and we'll get to the prompt here in just a moment. But I almost equate user stories with teaching somebody how to read. In the predictive realm, we collect requirements, and we break those deliverables down to the task level, if you will. And those tasks are linked, sequenced, you assign resources, set a baseline, all of that, duration estimations, and so on. But with a user story, we know who we're building it for, what we're building, and why. Agile tends to be more customer and user focused. Keep an eye on the end user, and the team understands, all right, here's what we're doing, why we're doing it, and who we're doing it for. So if you're teaching somebody how to read and you throw the alphabet at them, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, got it? No? Why not? Because it's a list. If we say A is for apple, B is for baby, as a new reader, A is for apple, and go like that, you're telling a story. So user stories are a way of representing features and functions in software development. It's not just for software anymore. In software development, to give the team the idea. But sometimes they're pretty generic or epic. They're too big. They're too big. So let me get out of the way here, and I popped in this prompt. Now, prompting is important. Especially those of you that are using this at work, you probably learn fairly quickly that the more generic we are, the more generic the response, right? So if you treat ChatGPT like an assistant, speak to it like a person. I'm always pretty polite too. I always say please and thank you. I didn't adhere yet, but I'm kind of polite to the ChatGPT because you don't know. So acting as a world-class product owner / project manager and create an epic user stories, completion criteria, tasks, and a backlog that is prioritized. The project is building an affiliate marketing website with the main focus on pets. Do you understand the assignment? Now, right now, I'm on ChatGPT 4. I'll show you 3.5 here in just a moment. Now, when I hit enter, as long as it behaves, doesn't crash, you'll see in about 5-6 seconds, all of this sudden, it's going to start writing faster than anything you've probably ever seen if it cooperates, if it doesn't crash on me. There you go. Absolutely, I understand the assignment. Usually it moves faster than this. Here we go. Here's an outline, but I did ask it to do a lot of things. So first thing, the epic affiliate marketing website for pet products. It's too big. So now we're going to break it down to the user story level. User story. As a website visitor, I want to easily navigate the site so that I can find pet products efficiently. Underneath that, we have some of the acceptance criteria because it's still kind of generic, but we need to be able to test for it. And you can see it's just going to keep going and going and going. Now, those of you that do work with user stories, you might be looking at this saying, well, maybe that's a little bit too epic, but look how fast it's going. I can't write a backlog, user stories, and acceptance criteria that fast. The nice thing, though, is that if it's not really going the way that you want it to go, you can stop generating, but it's just going and going. And once it stops, you can either regenerate or go from there. Now, at the bottom, it says tasks are prioritized according to their relevance for the core functionality of the website. So I don't know how well you can read that, but you can see that there are at least 6 user stories. There's at least 3 bullet points of acceptance criteria that allows us to go back through and say, what should we keep? What should we throw away? Or should we ask it to go even further and see, what it gives us? So I have another one here. Can you expand on the user stories and add more so they aren't so epic? The key to this, guys, though, is that you want to make sure that you're continuing the same conversation in the same chat. Otherwise, if I were to go all the way up here to the upper left and start a new chat, it won't know what I'm talking about. But as long as you continue the string, then it's going to pick up and reread what it wrote before and go from there. You tell it to ask me any questions for details it might need to accomplish this task. Awesome. Yeah, it's kind of like, it's weird to say out loud, but it's kind of like talking to a person, however you might do that. So we get better and better and better with the prompts. You could tell it to write it in the tone of whoever your famous, whatever famous people you like. You can say, explain it to me like I'm a 5-year-old. You can say, build me a menu for the next 5 days, and then in ChatGPT 4, in one of the plugins, it'll add your groceries to Instacart. I mean, there's a lot that it can do to generate highly productive types of things. So that, is a lot. And you're saying, can ChatGPT create an RFP for software that we're looking for? It can. However, you have to be careful because that's a request for proposal. We want to make sure that as a legal document that, it's correct, but for sure it can. The nice thing about this, though, is that you saw how fast it generated, right? The quickness of it allows us to then go back through and kind of look at it like an assistant would have written it for you and say, okay, I want to change this, I want to change that. And then you just continue the string and say, hey, can you create, what kind of software is it? Just out of curiosity. I'll just make something up here. We'll go to ChatGPT 4. Please create, I can't talk and type at the same time, so please create an RFP for payroll, let's just say payroll software. Now that's a very generic. Okay, so I would have, if I were going to do this for real and I wasn't talking and typing at the exact same time, I would have given it a lot more information. pretend you are, a junior attorney, that kind of thing, and go from there. So is the quickness of the feature of GPT-4 versus the 3 version or free version? No, the differences are not in speed. The differences are in what it's been trained to learn. And so because the 4 is the pay for version, and people want to use that, and it's been more updated, it's been trained better, if you will. It's the difference between talking to somebody with a master's degree versus somebody who, maybe is a 5th grade type of thing. And so it's just really about the responses. So you can see here that it's pretty generic, right? And that maybe is a good thing. That maybe is what we want. You could tell it what the deadline is, and then you just copy and paste it and say, here we go, and then add to it if you want to. So let me take this exact same prompt just so you can see. And I'll create a new chat, and I'll do it in 3.5. Okay. There you go. Boom, boom, boom. So it looks faster. It looks faster. Yeah, it does improve in time. It looks faster. And you may even look at this one and say, you know what? I like that one better. But notice it's more bulleted than this one. So if I come back to this payroll software, if it'll switch for me, it's, it's a lot more generic. But yeah, Bing Chat gives us ChatGPT-4 for free, and I believe it's current data. Yeah, plus it provides links to the resources used so one can check the trustworthiness of the information. I love that. But yeah, James, you're right. There's also a 25 message limit, or 3-hour limit with 4. So there are limits to it, to what it can do. I've tried it. I played a little around with it, but I'm more, I hate to say this, but I'm more on the Google side of the fence. But, I'll definitely check it out. When you look at new chats and you go out to GPT-4, demand on the system can slow it down, though. It can. It can. And even right now, it's a little slow. So what I'm going to do is kind of refresh it here. On the GPT-4, what you'll notice is default and then plugins. So if I click on plugins, it's going to show the ones that I've already downloaded, right? But if you wanted to go to the plugin store, I have Prompt Perfect. I've got some other things in here. If you go to the plugin store, and I actually search for like specific to project management, it's going to take a while to load just because. But you've got popular, new, and I always check out the new ones. Yeah, it's just like apps, right? And then all. If you look at all, as mentioned, there's over 580 plugins, and you can see that there's all sorts of things. Name search for GoDaddy, if you wanted to create your own website, chat with the website. Oh, there's a Tom Brady bot. See, this is just getting out of control. Deep memory, language learning, that kind of thing. And James is saying, considering what the chat is doing for some of these prompts, it won't necessarily consider it slow. Yeah, they have a local install, so they're going to be running through. Let me just find one, and I'll show you how to do it. Let's just say calculator or something like that. So it's going to install it, and it'll let you go through and install other ones. And then when you come up to your plugins, you're going to have a list. So you can see calculator was just, I know, well, we have to create one for the Dolphins. I'm an Eagles fan. We got to do one for that too. But now you've got, the individual plugins here, but you can only have, as of right now, 3 open, like checked at the same time. So if I go to check this one, it's going to say I've already got 3 enabled, so I would have to undo that. Now, Dart is supposed to be project management on autopilot. It's pretty clunky right now. There are some things that are a little bit clunky, but if I wanted to turn on the calculator. What I like is Prompt Perfect, so especially for project management. So all you have to do is say perfect and then type your prompt. Please create an RFP for payroll software. What this allows us to do, or the plugin allows us to do essentially, is to improve our prompts. Improve our prompts a little bit more than perhaps what we would get. It does slow down just a little bit. Once it realizes that perfect is in front of it, it's going to say, all right, now using Prompt Perfect. You can see it's a different icon, and it's going to take a little bit. Sometimes it times out and gets weird, but just like all apps and plugins, they get a little bit buggy occasionally. And I've been using this a lot. You can see all my chats over here. So So using prompt perfect, sure, here's a basic outline for a request for proposal and so on. And every time you do it, chances are you're going to get a different result. Every time you do it, chances are you're going to get a different type of result. Now you can decide. You can decide which one works and which one doesn't because you have all these chats over here. If you decide you want to keep it, great. You can always come back to it. It's going to stay there. If you decide, that one wasn't as perfect as I was hoping it would be, you can always click the trash can and then the check mark and it will go away. All right, so when we go back to the actual website creation, or if we go back to, the user stories and so on, let me go back to a new chat. There we go. User stories. Now, how do we use Planner with these users? So let's say we went through it and we decided, okay, these user stories are pretty good. I want to get my board started. I want to make sure that it's shared with the group and that we can start marking some things. And then when we have our planning meeting, we can discuss with the team what needs to be added, if they feel like the acceptance criteria is good enough, or if it's too epic. Basically, what I do, how many of you use OneNote? I know some of you don't have 365, but I feel like if I want to copy and paste these somewhere, and I want to make sure that everybody else can get into that. Yeah, I love OneNote. Yeah, me too. Everybody can get into that. I want to put it in OneNote instead of Word, just because, it can be shared. There's other things that you can do with it. So not that I'm trying to throw in another application here. If you don't use OneNote, feel free to copy and paste into Word, or whatever the case may be. But I've already copied this in. At the epic level, as a pet lover and affiliate marketer, I want to create a comprehensive affiliate marketing website focused on pets to provide valuable information, product recommendations, and generate affiliate revenue. Now, the thing about epics is that's where we typically start. And I know a lot of you are saying I use epics and so on. Don't get them down to the user story, which is fine if your people or you can build based on that actual epic. But why is it important to break it down even further to the user story level? And I often use this example in class just because it's fun. It's fun to talk about. But what is your favorite television series, group of movies? Like what? Chat in, tell book, series, doesn't matter. What y'all watching out there? Is it, Game of Thrones, Lord of the Rings? I knew I'd be in great company here. Ted Lasso, Jack Reacher. Yeah, it explains to the decision makers at a very high level. Ooh, I love Sherlock Holmes. Last of Us, The Dark Tower, Star Wars, Yellowstone, Lord of the Rings. Man, we all need to hang out. Oh, Penny Dreadful, that's a good one. I haven't seen that in a while. Yellowstone, nice. So what if somebody walked up to you the street? Silo's good too. Foundation, y'all are so cool. I mean, come on, really? Wentworth, that's a good one. Tron. See? Now, as far as explaining to management, if somebody walked up to you on the street, Breaking Bad is good too. Really good. If somebody walked up to you on the street and said, explain Lord of the Rings to me. Explain Tron. Explain Foundation. Explain Silo. Narcos. Explain it. Tell me about it. Well, chances are you're gonna give it. It's like, I look at it as it's just too epic. Lord of the Rings. Oh, there's, a bad guy, wizard, Sauron, and there's this ring, and they're hobbits, and there's a wizard, there's a journey, and they're elves, and they're high level. Well, if they're like, well, okay, tell me more. That's where we get to the user story level. So yes, you're absolutely right. It's great for senior management, but we need somebody who's able to build from that. Explain Lord of the Rings. Yeah, exactly. Let's start with page 1 of the book or the first hour of the movie. Explain Harry Potter to me. Wizards and yeah, I can't. Right? It's too big. It's too epic. So when we take that epic and we break it down to the user story, and we say, as a user, I want to easily navigate through the website to find information about various pets, their care, and recommended products. As a user, I want to be able to search for specific products or pet-related information. Now, that might even really be, that would be a tough one. Marshall, that would be a tough one. It would take an entire weekend just to watch all the extended, right. So what we're trying to do is get to the level where our team of people can actually build what it is that we just epically explained to senior management. Now, looking at these user stories, I probably would go back to ChatGPT and say, hey, can you break this down a little bit more, and so on. But what I would do, let's say we got one we liked. I would copy it from OneNote, and then I'd go over to Planner. Now, I've already created a board, but if you haven't used Planner before, you would come over to the left, right, and create a blank plan. If you wanted to start from scratch. Now, if you're brand new to Planner, maybe you don't. Maybe you just want a simple plan. Notice they've got project management, so it's going to set it up for you. Software development, maybe that's what we want to do. A lot of times people want to start with their own blank plan and label it and build it out the way that they want to. So I'll just start with a new blank plan, and plan title, I'm just going to do website. There's that typing and talking again. Now add to an existing group, because I'm connected through our 365. It's going to have me connect to a group, but sometimes you can have a public and just send the link out if you want to. But let's say I am adding all of the instructors to this particular plan, and I'll click create. It will create the plan, and basically it's like, well, that's not very exciting. There's not a lot going on here, right? Each one of these are what are called buckets. Now, before I get into this, I don't want to make any assumptions either. How many of you are familiar with task boards, Kanban, pull systems for project management? I know if you're already using Planner, you are, but if you're not, let me know. How many of you are familiar? Okay, yes, Kanban. Okay, yeah, because I definitely, not at all. Okay, because I definitely don't want to be like, hey, I just assume everybody knows everything that I'm talking about. Maybe not. Maybe not. Okay, so I want you to imagine, how many of you do, if you're not familiar, or you are, whatever, that's fine. How many of you make checklists? How many of you have a list of things that you want to do? Yours is a bit sideways. Yeah, you do checklists, right? Where you've got a list of things that you need to get done. Now, do you have to do the checklists or life? Oh, everything in the universe is a checklist. Can't do anything without a checklist. I know, there are people who don't. Yeah, you just went through ChatGPT and how to make a checklist. There you go. Yep, I do them and they get destroyed by the day. So here's the thing. Let's say you've got a big old whiteboard in your house. All right. And that whiteboard is separated into 3 swim lanes. The first swim lane is to do. Here's my checklist of things I got to do. The next swim lane says doing. This is what I'm working on. I'm going to move it to do into work in progress. And then when you're done, you move it to done. Just imagine you've got Post-it notes with your tasks and you're like, I'm pulling it through work in progress. You can very easily see what you need to get done, what's being worked on, and what's already done. And that is, in essence, the concept of Planner. It is a pull system. You're not linking by dependencies. You're not necessarily, sometimes there's dates attached, maybe not, but you're not necessarily sequencing across a Gantt chart and that kind of thing. Nor does what's in the to-do need to be done precisely in the order that it's listed. Like, for example, when I travel, I create a list of things I need to pack. But I don't pack them in my suitcase in that order. I put them on the list when I think of them. And when I pack it, I cross it off, right? Same thing. Instead of pulling it through, we just have them in different labels so we can see all the tasks per department. And if it's in progress or not started, that's perfect though. You can, that's the beauty of this. You can do it in any way that works. Your list, work breakdown structure, absolutely. Absolutely. So when it says buckets, this is the first swim lane, to do. The next bucket, let's just call it doing. We'll keep it simple, right? And then as soon as we do that, it's going to add a new bucket. Let's just call it done. Let's just call it done. And you can keep on keeping on, right? Eventually you're going to run out of room, but all right. So let's say I want to add a new task and I just copied and pasted that user story and I'm going to click add task. Now, and it's going to set me up for the next one if I want to. If I want to, I can keep adding, keep on keeping on. But once you have what's called a card, or think of it like a Post-it note, I'm going to double click on it. Whoops, sorry. Single click, my bad. And open it up. Now, once I'm inside the card, I have the opportunity to either assign it to somebody, assign it to hey boss, I'm assigning you something. And then it's in the current bucket to do, which I could move it from here if I wanted to. Progress, not started. And then priority is medium. And I'm going to show you how it can, like ChatGPT, can also size your user stories if that's something that you've done. But high, medium, low, that kind of thing. Then I can add a description or add notes. And if there's a checklist, for example, in this particular user story, there's acceptance criteria. You can do that. I think it's one at a time, but just for example here, I can put that in the notes, or I can put it as a checklist item. And I'm not going to do them all just because, but if you wanted them to show on the card, you could. If I wanted to add attachments, I could. And notice I have this checked over here, show on card. Scroll down, you can type a message if it's assigned. You can include attachments to anything that is already stored there, and so on and so forth. And then the other thing that I like to do, this is so great for government workers. We can use ChatGPT on a separate machine and manually add to our workstation planners. It's awesome. I wish the progress would be 25, 25, 75. Yeah, and that I agree. That is more predictive, dare I say, is where you mark things in completion. The other thing I like to do is add labels like high, medium, low, that kind of thing. Notice that they have colors. But if I wanted the red to be urgent or whatever you want to label it, doesn't even matter. You just click that little pencil and make it urgent. Oops, sorry. keep trying to send my boss. All right, there's urgent. So you've got all of this information in the card, right? But it doesn't take up all the information on your actual card. There's urgent and priority too. Yes, absolutely. You're absolutely right. And then I'm just going to close out of it. Now you can hit the little dots in the upper right-hand side and either copy a link to the task. If you want to send that out to somebody via email, you can delete it, you can move it, but I'm just going to X out of it. Now you can see everything that I've put in here. I've got urgent and so on. Now let's say this is assigned to my boss and my boss is working on it and everybody's attached to the board. And I think when you go into like Outlook, you can add it to your Outlook and that kind of thing. But let's say he's working on it. You click and drag and drop it to doing. Now everybody can see that that is currently being worked on, and then click and drag and drop it to done. We know it's now completed, but you're right. I just checked it off and it's completed. So I'm just going to go back here and add another task. We'll just, whatever got copied and pasted. But the other thing that you can do is look at it in grid format. So I know some of you do like, that list, that WBS. You can also build a list in Planner and have it generate in the card version if you want. I prefer looking at the board. It's just easier to see. Your brains can process images 60,000 times faster than text. So it's easier to look at the board. Then there's also charts where you can track performance, doing, done, completed. And then you can also look at the calendar view. Now, I didn't assign a date to this, but those of you that are using date-oriented types of start and finish dates, you could certainly assign dates onto that. And you can also export it to Notebook, Excel, etc. So that is Planner. Do you guys have any questions on that? I mean, it's so easy to use. I'll never forget. And if you have all access, I did an entire Planner demo from start to finish. You just got the super high level version. But speaking of, my bosses were like, hey, we want this to be X amount of hours long or whatever. And I said, there's no way it's going to be that long, because once you figure it out, once you use it, it's very, very simple to use. Whether you have a whiteboard in your house, I have people in my class that are planning weddings, honeydew lists. So it doesn't have to be things like that. Now, it does have some reporting, but mostly it's so that everybody's logged in to the board and they're able to analyze what's going on. It's supposed to be sort of a real time. If you've heard of Trello or Monday.com, that kind of thing, is Planner more for sharing with the team? It could be both. You can have your own private board. Some of you did say, though, that you don't have 365. Is that correct? If you don't, I'm going to give you a link to Trello. Yeah, I like it for the team. I just use tasks for me. Me too, Karina. Yeah. So Trello is free online. Yeah, two recommendations I have for Planner that I've implemented are blocking users who did not create the task for me, able to delete. That's awesome. And also using Power Automate. I love Power Automate. I don't have time to show everybody that, but to back up my Planner boards. Yeah, that's awesome. I just used Planner for the first time. Hey, congratulations. How does Planner versus Smartsheet, how do they compare? So Smartsheet is Gantt chart and task board. So Smartsheet allows you to, if you wanted to just start planning in board format, you can do that in Smartsheet and allow the tasks in a list to your work breakdown structure on the Gantt chart view. You want to create your Gantt chart and then look at the task board, you can do that too, but you can do both. And a lot of software programs out there right now are really working in that hybrid zone because they know. They're just like, your stakeholders want to see the Gantt chart baseline, but I want to work with my team in a more collaborative pull system kind of way. Now you can have the best of both worlds. And I'll tell you what, the new version of Microsoft Project also has, they call them cards, has a card view. I think it's the 2019 desktop version. It's not the 365 version yet. Not the 365. ClickUp is amazing too. There are so many things out there now that can absolutely be utilized much faster. I mean, I look at task boards as super visual, super quick. The best way that I saw this used, yeah, Planner doesn't have dependencies. Exactly, Karina, thank you. Asana's good too. Yeah, Planner's just the task board. So, but Smartsheet, Microsoft Project, that kind of thing, they can do that. Yeah. ChatGPT doesn't have, you have to have like Azure and all these kinds of things like installed, and most organizations won't allow that for cybersecurity. So it's like, how can you use ChatGPT to write user stories that can then be utilized in Planner? So it's workflow. It's just trying to improve our workflow. Yeah. Yeah, maybe with Copilot. Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure there's a way. I'm sure there's a code. ChatGPT could probably write the code to get to that point, but at this point, we only have an hour in the webinar to go through some of this stuff, and a lot of people haven't used ChatGPT for user stories or Planner for that matter. So the next thing that I'm going to do sort of before we wrap up is just show you how many of you use user story points. Do you use durations or do you use story points for your user stories or your epics? Anybody use story points? You do? Because usually that's another thing that when you're more on the predictive or hybrid side of things, you're like, I use durations. I don't use story points. But sizing user stories is about trying to figure out, not necessarily effort, but rather than duration. This will take 3 days. In Agile, there's a set iteration length of 2 weeks. You use Fibonacci? Well, you're going to love this. Yeah, for sure. But when you're sizing your user stories, you can use the Fibonacci sequence, which if you've heard of Fibonacci, use duration, and that's totally fine. Some people in my Agile classes and my PMP are like, my team doesn't get, sizing. But it's if you look at size versus duration, you can say that what's going to take longer to eat, a watermelon or a strawberry, right? Watermelon, it's going to take longer. We don't know how long. We just know it's bigger. So the team tries to figure out if we've got 80 hours in a iteration, how many user stories can we accomplish based on the size of work? So story points don't work for everybody, but for those of you that do use story points, now I'm going to ask it to really kind of size out the user stories for me. You could ask it to assign durations too, if you wanted to. If you wanted to get an idea as to high, medium, low, maybe start, finish date, size of user stories, that kind of thing. But as of right now, as far as I know, unless anybody else has information that I am not aware of, is that that right now ChatGPT and Planner, you've got to really go in through a backdoor to get them to work together right now. But when we're talking about workflow and simplifying our lives a little bit, it's one of those things where I will say that I cannot type that fast. I cannot think that quickly per se. And to have it sort of outlined for me and then say, all right, what's going to work, what's not going to work, how can I pull that into Planner it saves me so much time. So much time. So if you've just used Planner for the very first time, if you're using Smartsheet maybe, or your organization's looking into that, I'm sure you've heard of Monday.com. right? Monday.com has just recently added Gantt charts because they recognize that organizations want both. And the reason for so many hybrids is because of that disconnect between tracking performance, dates, dependencies. We don't use user stories. We can't use story points. We have to use durations. Those are going to be the types of things that, having that ability to kind of flip-flop back and forth allows us to be way more productive. So these are just a couple things. Like I said, it's a 1 hour webinar. I can't show you every single thing in the entire world about integration with all of these things. But look, if you learn one thing that you can take away to make your life faster and easier, if you have certifications already, this counts toward your professional development units. By the way, if you're interested in CAPM or PMP, because I saw some of those come in earlier, the PMP exam right now is 50% agile, 50% predictive, and there are also hybrid questions. And that's where the Certified Associate in Project Management is headed as well. And the reason for that is because so many people are using agile. All right, any questions? Anybody, you have any questions for me? And, as more information comes out, I'll do more webinars as I start figuring out things to do with it that are cool, other than talk to me like I'm a 5-year-old. I did 28 checklists for my to-do list less than a day. No way that would have happened without ChatGPT. No way. Me either. We move so much faster now. So many things are automated. Any idea how the test will change after July? Michelle's asking. The Certified Associate in Project Management changes July 25th. And yes, it's kind of like that mini PMP. So it's going to be 50% agile, 50% predictive, and it will also have hybrid questions in there. So it's really designed as that springboard for the new PMP exam. So yeah, it's definitely changing. Oh, good. Well, thank you, Sandy. I appreciate that. Customer journey mapping, there is actually, I think there is a plugin that actually does mapping, that can do journey mapping, can do mind mapping. You would have to dig through the plugins and see what would work. Just remember, a lot of them are new. Some of them are pretty buggy. Some of them are pretty clunky. But yeah, this will do charts for me. I can also throw in a link to a PDF and it'll analyze a PDF. For those of you who are talking about RFPs, it will analyze it, improve the writing. Xmind is good too. Would I recommend retaking the CAPM prep again? If you already have your CAPM, I would recommend taking the PMP. But if you want to, you're more than welcome. I'd love to see you in class again. But I would say if you have the hours, I would take the PMP. Knock that out. Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, look, thank you, everybody. I appreciate you spending time with me on a Friday. You're just working toward, if you're going to take it after July 25th, then yes, I would recommend taking the more up-to-date content. But as of right now, we will be allowed to record it, so you wouldn't have to take it live. Yep, you're absolutely welcome. Thank you so much, everybody. I really appreciate it. Hopefully you walked away with a tidbit or a PDU or some information. So thank you so much for joining and spending time with me on a Friday. I appreciate it so much. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. For those of you in the U.S., happy Independence Day, and I hope to see some or all of you in a class sometime soon. Thank you so much, everybody, for everybody here at StormWind Studios. We appreciate you. Hopefully I'll see you in another webinar or class soon. Thank you so much, everybody. Bye.